Hello, my name is Ramel Montenegro, the multifaceted market researcher, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time to review one of the skills that make me multifaceted. What you have in front of you is a database generator that I programmed for a colleague of mine who has started a cooking club. And what this generator does is it takes two separate CSV files that have been automatically generated by a registration website. And these two CSV files has registration information for students that have decided to take their classes. And one of them is called application, and then the other one is called jamming. And the difference between these two files is the jamming file lists information of students that are registered for a after-school jamming session, and then the application file lists the students that have registered for an actual 10 to 2 p.m. session where they get taught a cooking class. And what this generator does is it creates this spreadsheet that you have right in front of you. And this spreadsheet has your typical contact fields or columns, but what has been specially programmed into this spreadsheet is these gross revenue, scholarship, total number of days attending, and budget column that gets inserted based upon whether or not any individual student is only a jammer or a camper and a jammer. If you look at case 18, this person is a camper and also a jammer, so they'll be attending the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. session and then a 2 to 4 p.m. session. And from that person, a gross revenue of $66 is generated, and there isn't a scholarship that they would have gotten, but if, for instance, they were given a scholarship, let's say $20, then that amount is deducted from the total budget for that particular day. You notice that there's a column that says total number of days attending. What the deduction does is it takes the $20 and divides it by 10 and then takes it away from the figure that is in the gross revenue. So in this case, it's $20 divided by 10 is 2, and then 66 minus 2 is 64. So that's a calculation that's done automatically. If this person were to decide to not go to the jamming session, then in this column, the operators of the database and the spreadsheet could just go ahead and delete the yes, and what was 66 is now 45. So, or they can just go ahead and enter for any individual that has decided to take the jamming session yes, and then it goes back up to 66. So this is basically what this spreadsheet does. But what's really cool about this workbook that gets automatically generated is the budget calculator. This basically pulls from the database sheet and creates a pivot table that then enables the operators of this to go ahead and review how much revenue and scholarships are being given for, let's say, any particular person. Let's go ahead and choose Ramel in particular. And it turns out that total revenues of $1,257 are being made off of him for this particular time. Or if they were interested on any sort of weekday or any month when they're making money from Ramel, let's say in the month of August, then it reports nothing. Or let's say June, $729 is being made from Ramel. Then that can all be calculated here. Same goes for whether they're interested in getting to know the number of the amount of money that is being generated in the first, second, or third session. And that's basically what is produced by the generator. So let's go ahead and jump into the generator and see how easy it is to use. So in order to use this generator, a couple of requirements need to be satisfied. Pretty simple. Before continuing, please ensure that both the application and jamming CSV files are labeled as such and located in the Sprouts Cooking Club file directory. and that's already been done. And then you're supposed to enter the first date of classes for each instruction session in the highlighted fields below. So that's already been done. And then you have the choice of generating a database and being able to see Excel processing, or if you wanted an accelerated version of the generator, it basically runs a macro without displaying. But we're going to go ahead and click Generate Database and be able to see Excel processing. And then it asks us one more time to make sure that the CSV files are a labeled property and located in the appropriate directory, and that all of the session dates have been entered. You click Yes, and Excel starts processing. So if you notice, the first thing Excel starts doing is starts populating individual columns with pieces of data. What is in the first column is age, and then what you can partially see is the registrants, the date of registration for each student, and then phone numbers, names, email, and other information. So right now the spreadsheet is being formatted so that each person has the same information copied 10 times, because each individual session runs for only 10 days, and each line that has that same register information is required for each of those days. So then a date is applied at the end of each of those rows, and you have that information for the people that are attending the 10 to 2 session. And then in sheet 6, the information that is that listed in the jamming CSV file is processed into a list of people that are only going to the after-school jamming session. And this is a little bit special because this isn't a uniform set of 10 days that students are attending. Instead, it's just whenever they've decided to go ahead and do the extra 2 hours, it gets listed and processed ad hoc. And then these two sheets, one is sheet 3 and sheet 6, are combined and put into one integration file. And in that integration file, the program then compares the duplicate entries between the people that were listed in the application file and people that were listed in the jamming file, and makes sure that as much all of the information that is duplicate is consolidated into one line, so that if they happen to be a camper and also a jammer, then that is all listed on just one line, and it's reported in the status and jammer columns. So for example, Andy Saldana is both a camper and a jammer, and it's listed as such in those individual columns. So right now there's just some final formatting that gets processed, and then at the end of it you're notified that the database is done, and then you can go ahead and start using it. So right now the database is just created, and as I had shown before, you can go ahead and change the status and the jamming, and then the proper corresponding changes are made in the gross revenue and the budget. And then you can go ahead and use the budgeting calculator to figure out how much money you're making off of X, Y, or Z, depending on the date or the person. And that basically explains what this database generator does. Thank you so much for taking the time to review my creation, and have a great day.